Nucci Bucci's, everyone. As we know, Kevin Smith is back with his latest installment of the Clerks franchise, Clerks 3. But before we get into a spoiler-free mini review, let's look at the events that led up to this movie being made. Clerks 3 was first thought up after Clerks 2, actually at the presser, when Kevin Smith stated that he would think about doing these characters later down the road in his 40s or 50s, just to see how Randall and Dante lived out their lives. This continued throughout the year, as later he said he was actually thinking about doing Clerks 3 as a Broadway after seeing Teresa Rembach's comedy Seminar, which also starred his friend Alan Rickman, who we all know was in Dogma with him. Going further in 2012, Kevin Smith actually did a special Hollywood Babble episode, and on this episode he actually stated that he's having issues with the Weinstein Company getting residuals, and they're causing delays for him to get his cast and crew members, including Anderson and Scott Moiser, or Dante and Brian Halloran as well. He said this was causing an issue and he didn't know when the movie was going to get made, and was thinking about either doing a Kickstarter or Indiegogo. Going on to 2013, he actually completed a script detailing Clerks 3, and it had to do with the Hurricane Sandy issue and involving the Quick Stop. Fortunately, this movie wasn't made, or unfortunately if you think of it that way, but he did continue to think about doing Clerks 3. Unfortunately, nothing came to fruition. And then after the making of Tusk, he started to give himself a little bit more relaxation in the terms of making Clerks, as he felt that he was pushing himself to get the movie done by the 20-year anniversary. In the continuing events of being delayed or distracted, 2015 was a year that Kevin thought he was going to make the movie, but unfortunately he was sidetracked by another series, or installment to a series that fans love, Mallrats 2. And eventually that is actually looking like it's going to become a TV series, so this again prolonged Clerks 3 being made. Again, another bump in the road, as Clerks 3 was halted in 2017, at least the initial plans were, when Kevin Smith announced that one of the four leads, whom later revealed to be Jeff Anderson or Randall, opted out of reprising his role despite a completed script. At the time, Smith doubted that the film will ever be made. These feelings, however, were changed when Kevin Smith had his near-fatal heart attack. And Kevin has gone on record saying that experience actually made him want to rewrite the Clerks script from scratch, which he did. He felt that the near-death experience helped him relate better to his characters, and he actually used some of the scenes from the script that was scrapped and put them in Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. And that's what leads us here today. So without further ado, let's get into a little info about Clerks 3. Clerks 3 was released September 4, 2022, and the film stars Brian O'Halloran, Jeff Anderson, Trevor Fairman, Austin Zager, Jason Mewes, Rosario Dawson, and of course, Kevin Smith, reprising his role as Silent Bob. The movie takes place 15 years after Clerks 2, and involves the shenanigans again of one Randall and Dante. Now, without going too much and spoiling the whole storyline, I'll just give you the basics off the top. The film centers around Randall having a heart attack and surviving, and looking upon his life realizes he hasn't really done anything but complain about things. So he comes up with this wacky idea to make a film about his life and all the experiences he had at the Quick Stop. So that is mostly the premise of this movie, but there is so much more in detail that I don't want to share because it will spoil it. When I first came into this movie, I had thoughts of Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, and although I love the characters from the movies, I felt that movie was not that great, to be honest. But I went to go see it because it was Kevin Smith, and I do like Kevin Smith movies, and it had Jay and Silent Bob. I kind of had the same feeling going into this one. I thought, well, how's he going to take the story from here? We kind of got the premise of Randall having a heart attack as is in the trailers, but where's he going to go from here? And boy, was I surprised. Not only is the bathroom / college humor dummied down in this movie, don't get me wrong, there's a bunch of funny parts in this movie, especially with Elias and Randall doing his normal shenanigans, but it's not as graphic or as raunchy as it was in Clerks 2. This movie has a lot of emotion in it, a lot of emotion that you can tell Kevin Smith wrote from his experience from his heart attack, and we see that the main character has a heart attack. So we are kind of relating to Kevin Smith and the way he looked at morality, the way he looks at his life, the way he thinks about what he's done with everything. The value of friendship, the value of family is also in this movie. Now, is this movie an Oscar-worthy movie? Probably not, but there are so many things that lead into this movie to make it a good movie, and I think a nice little thank you to the fans. And to see how this movie is Kevin Smith's vision of what he wanted to do for the third movie of Clerks. Another cool thing about this movie is that it's shot in Jersey. It's the first movie Kevin Smith has actually shot in Jersey and got to shoot in Jersey. So that's another cool thing about it. So we're in his hometown with the original Quick Stop. Another cool thing is a lot of the moments that happened in the previous movies, Randall is actually filming these as his experiences. So you see Randall as the director of these memories or experiences he had at Quick Stop or at movies, just going through, or at the video store. You also see old cast members of the previous movie show up. I don't want to spoil who comes back, but you see that. You see a great dance scene with Jay and Silent Bob as they own the weed store next door that was the movie store. Now they're basically selling weed from legally. So that's a nice little throwback into the previous movies as they had the movie store. The movie just basically preys on nostalgia, but also shows how it is getting old, how it is growing old up, how it is losing people, how it is almost losing yourself. And I think Kevin Smith beautifully put that into this movie. Now, if you do happen to go see it in the theaters, I recommend that you stay until the end and post-credit scenes, because Kevin Smith actually gives an ending, an alternate ending to this movie. And I think that was pretty cool, along with giving a whole another like 15 minutes of footage of the making of Clerks 3. It's basically interviews with the cast and crew, and of course Kevin Smith giving his rationale on how the movie was made, how it came together, why he did certain things like that. It's actually a nice little treat for the super fans of the Kevin Smith movies. If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend you check it out. And if you're a big fan of Kevin Smith movies, check out our podcast, Yumper and Svo, on all your podcast apps. We had 2 great guests this past week with My Sock Summer from the 108 and Southside Zoe from Florts Mockery's Pinwheels and Ivy, where we went to a deep dive of Kevin Smith movies. Again, that's Yumper and Svo at the show on all your podcast apps. You can check us out on YouTube at The Tainted Glove or the taintedglove.com website, where we have vlogs and everything on there. Thanks so much for listening to this, guys. I do not want to go too much into detail to spoil it. I just wanted to give you a quick overview of how I felt about it. But thanks again for listening and watching, and have a great rest of your day.